winter's day.
Okay, and we are recording. So yeah, this is the famous multiplayer match. Multiplayer in the sense of multiple actors on the map. Of course, they are computer players, so I'm not playing it with or against anybody. This is not a collaborative piece. But yeah, looks like we started up here in Graysville. They've got a steel to arms factory, a war factory. The first thing I went ahead and did is I bought the war factory for 200,000, or well, not 200,000, but 180,000 bricks, which is most of my startup cash. And honestly, yeah, the first thing I did was kind of a mistake. I've looked back at this footage once before, and I came to the same conclusion then. I basically looked at it and I was like, well, I bought the War Factory too early, so I had to sell too much stock in order to just get some train lines running and make some money. I could have run the track the exact same way, and if I just had some extra capital, it probably would have been better. Of course, the other mistake I did was going was actually trying to build the railroad south at all, because that's where George Hudson started out. You can see he's already got some track down there. And if somebody else already has track in a city, they are going to mess with resources that are going in or around that city. For example, if you make food in a city, the other player will pick up that food and start delivering it before you can, which is not ideal because they are making money at your expense. But it could, it can be useful if you own the plant that makes the goods. But no, in this case, I did not really play very well. So, yeah. But I take joy in the small things, like making the train the right color, that sort of thing. This one's the Crampton, and it's got a big wheel on the back. And I really like the big wheel. I think it makes this design stand out a lot, and it just has so much character, Let's see. I don't want to spoil what happens for you in this video, so I won't tell you who ended up being the computer player that ousted me from my company by buying out all my stocks. But yeah, so the actors we've got, me, obviously, playing as Desktop Pammy 98i. Catchy name, I know. I should have probably changed it, but I didn't end up going into the settings to change that yet. So yeah, this is the competition screen. You can see everybody. There's me, there's Isambard Brunel, there's George Hudson, and Jim Fisk. And, well, they all have backstories on the loading screens, but since this game is running on modern hardware, it doesn't have time to, you don't have time to read much of the loading screens. It just kind of it just kind of finishes loading and you're in pretty instantaneously. So yeah, I mean, you can see here Isambard Brunel is kind of participating in the same strategy I am. He's selling his stocks to build track. It looks like he's on the north end of this map. Um, Not sure what he was doing up there, and I never did find out because I never looked at his track at all. Jim Fisk is over to the west. I can see his tracks coming along nicely. It looks like he built a triangle, and he's got three big cities all hooked up together. So, yeah, needless to say, he's going to be doing a lot of business in passengers from the looks of things. Um, and yeah, Hudson sort of in the south. He's started closer to the middle of the map, but he's building out to the south a little bit there. As for what I'm doing, my goal in this game was to start delivering arms to that big city, and that meant setting up the supply line. So, as quickly and cheaply as possible, I put up depots in Wiesen. I put up a depot in Wiesen. I got track out to the coal plant, or to the coal mine. I put in a train. I had my train go to the coal mine. Pick up the steel and take it to Wiesen. Oh wait, no, pick up the steel and then go back. Because if you don't add a stop at the end where you clear the train, it'll just drop off the cars on the first stop at its route. So this car starts out in Graysville. Um, if it picks up a bunch of steel in Wiesen, it's going to drop the steel off in Graysville. And the profits, will start rolling in from the war factory there because you get like a little bonus, you get some bonus profit from every car of material you deliver to the factory. So every car of steel, it's like plus 3,000 francs or whatever. Pretty good deal if you ask me. But something to solidify in the late game, basically. That's the main thing. Here you can see one of the game's issues. The wheels don't spin when you're loading the cars or the train. And then as soon as they're loaded, it starts working again. And actually the trains will just do that kind of whenever. It's pretty annoying. Especially if you like to watch the trains, like zoom in and watch them carry their cargo from destination to destination, like me. Uh-oh, looks like Hudson set up shop in Wiesen. Wiesen, that's trouble. I sure hope nothing happens to the steel that I just created. That would really stink, wouldn't it? I've just gotten more and more bitter about this game. I mean, it's a 45-minute clip, Can you really blame me? I basically am yelling at my past self. No, don't do that. You're doing it wrong. Do something else. Do anything else. I mean, it did work to some extent. Like, I got 100,000 francs there from delivering that steel to the war factory. That's a pretty good deal, right? Oh, he's delivering coal too. Oh, that's right. Okay. So hey, we share in our success then, I guess. Magaha. Oh, here's another mistake I made. Upgrading the train too early. It sounds like a little thing, but the Madoc, you actually want to postpone buying that. Otherwise, because an upgraded train doesn't come out after that for a good 30 or 40 years. At least not one that's any good at freight trains. This map is based off of the assets for France, which means that they're a lot more passenger focused in general. Just because of how France is laid out and how history played out in France. So, yeah, it's rough. I mean, you just have to wait for a better train to come out. And I never did see that in this playthrough, so. Alright, so delivering more coal to Wizen. Oh my gosh! Looks like Hudson's almost sold completely out of his stock, too. This would be an excellent opportunity to buy some of his stock, if it wasn't 250 francs. 250,000 francs, just for one share. That's kind of a lot. I mean, not as much as Jim Fisk, but who even knows what he's doing over there? Alright, got 4 cars of steel going to Graysville. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Now, this may just be my my own bias or whatever talking, but in general, I seem to remember that player 4, whoever's playing as yellow, their stock price usually ends up being higher, either in the uh, and I don't really know why that is. I don't know if the different robber barons have different AIs that govern their strategy or whatever. Uh, but at least in this case, that has been borne out. I mean, look at this. His price has been at the top like the whole time. It's been 10 years, and his stock has been at the top. And I've emerged as the third place holder for now. Whew. Man, I'm sorry I'm so tired. I don't know, I guess I did a lot today. I woke up pretty early, maybe. But, well, Hudson set a speed record, and Chang has grown to be a metropolis. Metropolis is the largest size that a town can grow to, and at that size, they demand either automobiles or arms. Just depends whether you're playing in Europe or America. Now, the War Factory still is not making money, though. But here's a pretty decent play that I made. Buying the steel mill for 130,000. Well, starting an auction on the steel mill, I should say. and waiting, trying to run down the timer because I can see that my train is going to arrive. Now I'll have more money to outbid Hudson over here. And for 200,000, he said no deal. But I took that one. Probably should have bid on that bridge patent because I needed a bridge to get to the grapes, and the patent there makes bridges cheaper to build. Um, so yeah, basically, the more business comes to a town, because you know, Wyzen started out, they were a single commodity business, a single commodity town. So all you could do with Wyzen was deliver coal and pick up steel. But it grew because both me and George Hudson over here were funneling all this coal in and picking up all the steel. Uh, so now it actually has passengers and mail to deliver because, you know, that's kind of a little simulation on economics, I guess. It's like, whoa, we need more people to work the steel mill, and we need all the infrastructure to support all those people. Um, wow. All right, so Jim Fisk is in second now. Hudson is in the lead. Look at that. He pulled ahead. Um, all right, so we got the grapes. We got we're putting more passengers on the train there. Passengers and mail. And yeah, just a little tweak though. The Madoc is 8 years old. Oh, hey, look at that. George Hudson bought a bunch of stock in Isambard Brunel. I wonder if that means anything. Nobody else owns any shares in Brunel's company. So that means that it would be a practical bargain for him to get bought out by George Hudson there. Just interesting to note. It won't come into play later. Don't worry. Um, there's not already an obvious winner here. I mean, just look at the net worth. Jim Fisk could definitely compete with George Hudson. I have no doubt about that in my mind. Oh, some dealing with stock. Oh, see, I saw that was happening, and I was like, oh, well, I'll buy a share in Brunel's company then, so that it costs a little bit more for Hudson to buy him out completely. And also, if he does buy out Brunel while I own the stock, I get a payout. So that's cool too. More money is always good. Means I can build more trains, build more track. But by the time I got the ball rolling, it was a little too late for that. Here come the grapes. Upgrading the terminal, or upgrading the depots to stations. the stations unload faster than a depot. I don't know if I've already said this before. Um, but yeah, the stations unload faster and they give you bonus money. So it's actually in your best interest to deliver passengers and mail to your uh, starter town, which starts out with the very best station called a terminal. All right. And here I go into the negatives a little bit. That's the parentheses on my money supply. But I can see my train about to come in, so I don't worry about it too much. Here comes the Norris with the 8 cars of grapes. How exciting is that? Well, auction for a fromagerie, and I said no thank you. Fromagerie just turns milk into cheese, or, in this case, food, because it's France. So, fromage, the cheese, and the winery as well. Um, and wine is not a bad good to deliver either. I mean, it's pretty valuable, but not like super high up there. I think it might replace like manufactured goods or something. I'm not too sure. Because the resources are different too based on what map you pick. Um, there's wine in France. There's beer in Germany, of course. Got to do that. And America has automobiles. Obvi obviously, I mean, last map I played was an American map, and yep, it had cars. Oh, Brunel bid on it. I don't understand. Why would he do that? It's not good. Ugh. So I ended up selling my stock to win the auction on this winery here. Um, and Brunel chose that as the optimum time to increase his share. Or wait, no, sorry, no. Hudson chose that as the time to increase his share in Brunel, um, which, needless to say, is a major turning point here. I mean, there's one share left to Brunel that hadn't been bought out yet. I know it's a lost cause at this point, so I just kind of I kind of wrote that off. I was like, okay, Hudson's gonna own Brunel's company now. There's nothing I can do to stop that. Let me just focus on making as much money as possible and owning as many of my own shares as possible so that I don't end up going the same way he did. Just a few. And so, as part of that, I started looking at other sources of coal to put into that steel mill. And I found one way down south. Here come all the bombs. And really, I kind of don't like playing on European maps because, like, I don't want to deliver bombs. I've seen Iron Man 1. I know that it's a bad time to be in the war business. That is Iron Man 1, right? Yeah, I think so. Oh gosh. Here he comes. Hold on a sec. I'll be right back. I just gotta put down my microphone. Where was I? Oh, okay. Let's see. Building. Tweaking this train route some more. Getting the maximum available coal into Wizen. Basically, what I was hoping would happen would be that I would pour all this steel into the steel mill and get a bunch of cars out of it and make a bucket of money so I could stave off the. Oh, jeez. George Hudson really pulling in quite a quite a lead there, huh? Oh boy. All right. Well, yeah. So at this point, me and Jim Fisk are at about the same net worth, and if it was possible, I would try to suggest a merger with him. But since the only mechanic available is a buyout, I would have to make 6 million francs and buy his company. And that's easier said than done, as you may be able to tell. Um, the thing I didn't take into consideration um, was that this train route was too long, so having a very long trip on it to bring the coal in actually just meant that there was less coal overall going into the steel mill. So what I should have done is actually built a triple track in Wisen and built double tracks in all the necessary places so that I could have a train uh, just dedicated to that one task. Because at this point, I had the money. I could easily have just bought another engine. I mean, that was no problem at all. Let's see here. What else have we got? Oh, Hudson's buying my shares, just like I predicted he would. Now he owns more of my company than I do. Good times, good times. And here we go down to Bergantz. Fisk is trying to. Fisk is succeeding at the strategy I failed at. Um, he only has 30% of his shares open, and at this point, he's made himself a much tougher target for Hudson. So I have attracted his ire. Um, so the materials places, like in this case, the coal mine, it can arrive in different sizes. So it could be a medium or a large or a small. A small generally maxes out at about holding 4 cars of coal at any one time. Medium is somewhat more than that. I think maybe 6. And the large, for all intents and purposes, it always has enough coal for you to do 8 cars of it um, for your pickup. And at this point, I'm looking at the competition screen because I want to see how much money Hudson has. Because once he has, about $4 million, he can buy the rest of my shares, and I'll basically die. In business, getting bought out is dying. So in this game, uh, you lose when you get bought out. And since these are multiplayer maps, those are the only objectives. If you play on a map that's actually in the single player campaign, or well, I say campaign, but a map that was built for single player, it will have map specific objectives. Maybe they want you to recreate a train route from history, or they want you to uh, build track between certain cities, stuff like that. But yeah, so the victory condition in this case, the victory tab just says, be the last railroad standing. And I didn't do that yet. Well, I didn't do that, I should say. That's not a spoiler, right? Because I said that I wasn't gonna win this. And that's definitely the case. At this point, as somebody who's played the game for a while, I could see that my goose was cooked. But how much time we got left? Looks like, in terms of the game clock, it looks like 11 years. Um, right around 11 years in the game until the end. Yes, so this was kind of silly, but Like, what even is this route? Yeah, so the Class 121 is better at hauling passengers and mail. So I put passengers and mail on a train route that previously had wine and arms, because for some reason there weren't as many arms and wine to even pick up. Ugh, that's wrong. Oh, they're supposed to deliver to the terminal. Oh boy. The train's just going backwards, man. There's an auction for a textile mill. I'm not using it, so I don't really care. And at this point, as you can see on the mini map here, Hudson has track splitting the map right down the middle. So any attempts to go past that, you're gonna have to be routed really cleverly, and there wasn't really anything over there that I wanted, so I didn't bother. I'm building track into towns that he's already got. You can see too that the value of mail and passengers has dropped significantly, whereas the value for medicine and wine is still pretty good. Milk and food, nitrate screen. The best raw material is wool, because I don't think there was much wool on the map, so the whole scale thing didn't really come into play here. When I say the whole scale thing, I just mean that the more buying and selling of the more cars of something you put on the market, the the more of it is on the market, the lower the price gets, because whoa, it's such plentiful supplies. Why would I bother? And maybe I should have gone for the Bates War Factory auction. I didn't have any real way of competing um, with George Hudson's cash reserves, but uh, well, what can I say? I probably should have at least attempted it. Except for arms, the value of arms just goes higher and higher the more of them you make. Man, I realize this looks like a lot like a complicated game to the uninitiated, but really it's not that complicated. So here's when I made like a bit of a pie in the sky train track. I love doing these, but you basically shouldn't do them because it's kind of a huge waste of money. And the main thing that I like about it is just that it looks cool. To have a train track that goes directly to one location. So at this point, I'm solidly in second place and about to win the auction on the Kyle food plant. There it is. Yeah, see, look at that. Look at all that bridge. Look at that ginormous bridge. And I always try and give the game a second after I build something huge like that, because it will kind of, it will take a second, and it has a tendency to crash after you do stuff like this. But yeah, so at this point I'm like having kind of, I'm imagining a glorious future where I can put some ginormous freight train from the end of history in this simulation on a route and have it deliver the grain directly on that giant track. And I'm like, well, hey, this train isn't making any money. Let's go back to basics, you know? Let's just do coal as the first priority. And then steel at the end. Yeah, so at this point, George Hudson's net worth is larger than either me or Fisk, both me and Fisk's companies combined. So it looks pretty clear that he's going to pull a victory. I sold my stock to build the train. And I was like, well, we want the Madoc because that's the fastest train under load that we've got right now. 121 goes 14 miles an hour under load, and the Madoc goes 22. So pretty clear difference there. Actually a better choice to go with the older engine. Yeah. And then I was like, well, maybe I can deliver food to Geiston. And I'll even put a terminal up there so that everything on this route can be as fast as possible. And since I had all that money left over, I just started putting terminals up everywhere to try and speed all of my money making up. And I ran out of money to do that. I mean, it's 150,000 francs just to do that. And we're even going downhill, so it's going better than max speed. Almost 1900. Oh, I guess I should say thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this content, there's more content either coming or in my backlog, so go ahead and peruse. There'll be some recommendations on the screen, but you can also just go to my channel page and scroll down, or mess with the sort function to see my oldest videos first, that kind of thing. Upon my retirement, I was a gambler. Thank you, and good night.